Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Living in Lansing, Michigan, your resource for everything you need to know about buying a home, selling a home, or living in the greater Lansing area. I'm Brooks Warner, and your host and local real estate agent at Mitten Home Team at Keller Williams Realty. Today, I have a special guest coming in, a good friend of mine, Dave Williams, who is an estate planning attorney, and he is going to be sharing very important information about estate planning and everything that goes into it. Before we get started, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to see future videos, because this is probably going to be a mini series with a couple different videos, as there is a lot to cover. This is a topic that's really hit me near and dear recently, as I've been dealing with it quite a bit, both personally and professionally, and there is a lot to know when it comes to estate planning. This is going to be a real hot topic over the next few years to a decade, as the baby boomers are continuing to age and leave their estates to their heirs. So let's go ahead and get started. Also, I almost forgot, if you have any questions related to this topic, go ahead and drop them in the comments. I'll make sure they get answered for you, or always feel free to email me, brooks@mittenhometeam.com. I answer questions like this all the time, and if I can't answer them, I'll get you in touch with David so he can help you out. Okay, we're back here with our friend David Williams, estate planning attorney, kind of helping us educate people on your different options within the estate. This is going to be video 3 in our little mini series, so if you haven't seen the other 2, definitely go back and watch them. First one talks about probate and wills. Second one talks about trusts. And now we're going to jump into, I'm a trustee, now what? So I've been named a trustee. What do I need to do to be ready? What do I need to expect? That type of stuff.
Sure. So if you've been named a successor trustee for mom or dad or grandma, grandpa, So one of the things you need to know is you hold the title to this property, you hold the assets in trust. What does that mean? You know, you're holding this for the benefit of the beneficiaries, and surprisingly also for the creditors of the estate or trust, you know, who mom or dad owed money to. So you're holding the assets for them, for the beneficiaries and the creditors, and your job is to carry out the settlor or the grantor, the person who made the trust, their wishes. So you have to do that. You have to faithfully do that. Okay. So sometimes people say, I'm trustee, I can do whatever I want. No, you can't. You got to follow what the trust says and carry out those provisions.
Okay. Let's say, what's the first thing I should do? Obviously, hopefully, I shouldn't say obviously, hopefully your parents or grandparents, whoever is naming you as a trustee, told you that you were going to be a trustee and gave you a little bit of information about it sometime prior to them passing.
Right.
So that happens today. Let's say that my mom calls me today and says, hey, I've made a trust, you're the trustee. What do I need to do?
If your mom called you today and said, I've named you trustee and you're not trustee yet, you might not need to do anything.
Okay.
You're sort of in waiting. You might want to say, hey mom, maybe we can meet and look through it so I know what you want me to do at that time. And also get an idea of where accounts are, what assets she owns. You don't have to necessarily know dollar amounts, but where do you bank? Who's your financial advisor? You know, these type of things you're probably going to want to know.
Okay. So sounds like first step is probably meeting with your parent or whoever it is that, would you say the grantor that made you trustee, to have a better understanding of what they want.
Right.
Okay. What's the next thing I should do?
After mom becomes incapacitated or dies, then you become the trustee.
Okay.
Right? So before you're the trustee, you have to accept the trust. So as an attorney, I'll usually prepare a document saying,
okay,
I agree to serve as trustee and faithfully carry out the terms of the trust. So you don't, just by being named in the trust as successor trustee doesn't make you the trustee. You have to agree to do that.
Okay. So they can't force me into being it if I don't want to be.
Nope, they can't.
Okay.
Nope.
Has anyone ever done that before?
I'm sure people have named somebody as trustee without telling them. Most of the time in our practice, we see people say, yeah, I'll do it. I know who this was. But a lot of times people will name a bank or a brokerage company or a trust company, and the trust company will say, you know what, we're not going to do that. So that does happen sometimes.
Interesting. Okay. I've been named a trust.
You're accepting it.
I accepted it. The grantor passes away. What do I do next?
Yeah, so one of the first few steps that we'll do is we'll make the acceptance of trust. We make a new certificate of trust.
Okay.
So a certificate of trust says, now I'm the trustee, mom or dad made the trust, I'm the trustee now, here's the authority I have, you can deal with me now. So you give that to the bank, you give that to the realtor or title company.
Yep.
So they know they're dealing with the right person. So you need a certificate of trust. Generally, you'll also need to get an EIN number for the trust. That's a taxpayer ID number. EIN is employer identification number, but it's a sort of like a social security number for the trust, because and I should back up, if mom or dad or the grantor has passed away, then we need an EIN.
Okay.
If they're still alive, the trust reports on their social security number.
Gotcha. Can they get an EIN for their trust before they pass away to alleviate the new trustee, their heirs, of having to do that step, or no?
You probably can, you don't want to.
Okay.
So the living trust it's generally a grantor trust, which says the IRS doesn't really care about it. It doesn't file a tax return.
Gotcha.
We get an EIN, we would probably have an extra tax return.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so now we got an EIN. What's next on my list as a trustee?
Well, one of the top concerns is what we would call marshaling the assets.
Okay.
So finding out where they are, you're going to want to go to the bank, get access to the bank account, contact the financial advisor, or find the Vanguards, Fidelities, all these accounts.
The gold that's buried in the backyard
Yeah,
someplace.
if you're lucky. Yeah. But you want to marshal the assets, get all of those things, and you're going to open a trust bank account.
Okay.
And put assets in there. So, and then you're going to want to be very careful too. You know, if it's an IRA and it was beneficiary designated to the trust, we're going to want to talk to a tax accountant or attorney about that and make sure we're not paying more in tax than we have to. You don't want to liquidate everything right away, but you do want to find out where the assets are, put cash and different things like that in the trust account, and then make an inventory. What are the assets that the settlor, in Michigan we call it a settlor, most other states call it grantor, the person who made a trust. But what were the assets that they owned when they died? So that way you can tell the beneficiaries, here's what mom and dad owned when they passed away, so they have a baseline to know what they're gonna get.
Okay. Next up.
Yeah, we provide notice to beneficiaries. So we send out a notice to all of the heirs, or the beneficiaries, we call them if they're in the trust. And we say, you've been named as a beneficiary of the trust. Brooks is now the trustee, or whoever the trustee is. If you have questions, let them know. You know, and then we send them a copy of the trust terms that apply to them.
Okay. And next?
Yeah, well, you're probably going to want to sell the house or distribute the assets the way the trust said. Before we get there, generally we'll publish notice to creditors. If the settlor owed somebody money, we'll say you gotta let the trustee know within 4 months, otherwise your claim is barred. So we want to do that because if you're the trustee and you're responsible to make sure bills are paid, before you give the money away to the beneficiaries, you want to know for sure that all the bills are paid.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it is theoretically possible that you could do that. The bank could not notify within 4 days, and then whatever lien they had on the property is essentially void at that point in time?
Well, it's what we do is we'll publish notice to unknown creditors. A lien on a house would be known.
Okay.
You know, you can't sell that.
Creditor.
Yeah, and that's secured. You can't sell the house without paying that off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thought maybe we just stumbled on a really fun loophole there and just hope that banks don't realize. Okay, so you may say, what would be unknown creditor? What would that be?
Well, for example, possibly Medicaid. So if you didn't know the person who named you as trustee was receiving Medicaid benefits, you publish notice, you get a letter from the Department of Health and Human Services saying, surprise,
they owe us money.
The trust now owes us money. In which case you do have to, probably in most cases, have to pay that.
Okay. You said publish, so what is that? Like, do I just take it out on an ad in the newspaper that no one reads anymore? Like,
Sort of.
How does that work?
Yeah, so the court rules have guidance on what newspapers we can publish in. We have to publish in the county the decedent lived in. And then the newspaper has to have a certain amount of circulation. So in Ingham County, we'll typically publish in Ingham County Legal News. If we're in Eaton County, it might be the Charlotte Shopper's Guide. I don't remember what they call it. But, so we've got a resource we use that will publish that for us.
Interesting. So it literally is published in, I was kind of joking, but it seriously is published in a newspaper for someone to see.
Yes.
And I imagine there's probably people out there who their job is to watch these things, right?
Yep, for the credit card companies and.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay, so all that's taken care of. Now we divvy up everything based off from how the trust says it. Does the trust get closed at that point in time? What's the conclusion to this, I guess?
Yeah, it's going to depend on what the trust says, and we've probably skipped some steps, file tax returns, things like that. But when we distribute the money from the trust or the assets, what we'll typically do is provide an accounting to the beneficiaries. Say that's where that inventory comes back in. This is what we started with. Here's what we spent, and that's why your 1/3 or 1/2 equals this amount. So if the trust just said give everything to the beneficiaries outright, what we'll usually do is give them an accounting, make a proposed plan of distribution, have them consent to it, and then we'll also usually hold back a certain amount of money for miscellaneous expenses.
Okay.
Next year's tax return, the final tax return. But you distribute the money, file the final tax return, and then you should be done.
So it kind of sounds like you would help a lot in the case that it's a trust that you help someone create.
Yes.
So maybe the first step that should have been at the very beginning is call the dang attorney that helped your parents create the trust and made you the trustee.
That's probably a really good idea.
Right?
Yeah.
So step one, call the attorney, and then they'll kind of help guide you through all these other steps that we've talked about that are still important for the trustees to understand how it works.
Right.
Okay. Anything else that you would want a potential trustee to know about the process so they don't make any mistakes or make their life harder or make your life harder?
Some of the traps for the unwary would be things like retirement accounts.
Okay.
When you're alive, you don't put your retirement account in the trust. You can name the trust as beneficiary.
Okay.
You're going to want to make sure your trust is drafted right for that. But if you're the trustee and the trust was the beneficiary, you're going to need to make sure you're continuing to take required minimum distributions if the grantor was taking them. And then you're also going to want to make sure you're taking that money out over the appropriate time. If you take it all out in year one, you have a big tax bill. You can take it out in either 5 or 10 years typically, in which case you can spread that tax out. And then usually you can limit the tax by using K1s and different things like that, working with your accountant.
Okay.
That's one thing. Another one is just when you're the settlor of the trust, making sure your trust owns this stuff. If you're working with Brooks, you selling your house that was in the trust and you're buying a new one, make sure your trust owns the new one.
Okay.
A lot of times I'll get a call from clients saying, I bought a house, how do I put it in the trust? And if they called me 3 days earlier before they closed on it, I could say, amend the purchase agreement.
Yeah.
Make sure the trust is the buyer.
Right.
But if you call after you've bought it, now we have to make a new deed. Not a big deal. We can help with that, but it's an unnecessary step sometimes.
And I mean, not a big expense, but it's an expense still to do it, right? As opposed to if you change the purchase agreement, the title company would have immediately put it in the trust.
Right.
And they were going to record a deed anyway, so there's no extra fees at that point.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks again, David. I appreciate all the information you're giving me on these videos. I hope that everyone out there is finding them useful. Again, if you have any questions related to this, you can drop it in the comments. I'll make sure that I answer anything that I can answer if it's real estate related. If it's not, I'll try to get you in touch with David. You can also email me if you'd like, brooks@mittenhometeam.com. Happy to answer any questions that you guys might have.